Early signing day is finally upon us. What is the drama going to be like? What 3 stars is Steven Brooks already sold on? And hey, we might even get some transfer stuff.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That is $150 if your team wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white every single day. Now, enough of me blabbing. We have dragged on once again for maybe, I don't know, what seems like the 60th time in his life, Steven Brooks, because what better time to get him on the show than signing day eve? I'm sure he's having a very relaxing, not busy week whatsoever, but hey, he's carved out some time to talk with us. Steven, how we doing, man? We doing okay?
It's been great. No, 60 is not nearly enough appearances, so I'm happy to be here as always.
There we go. That is the spirit right now. So, as we all know, Wednesday is early signing day, which might as well just be actual signing day. I'm going to make a petition to just call actual signing day last second signing day. I don't know. We'll workshop that name. That's not important right now. But what is the drama for Michigan State right now, Steven? Because I feel like right now, compared to a lot of other programs, we're kind of just chilling and not really stressed out at all this signing day. Is there any drama we have to look at for Wednesday or no?
I don't think super dramatic. Sorry for the noise there. I'm getting my little cheat sheet here ready. So, look, I mean, as we record, we're looking at 13 commits. As most of you hear this, that number will be bigger. You know, as most of you hear. I don't know how soon, I guess, this will be published, but that's going to go up over the course of today, Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday. If you follow this stuff, I don't think there's going to be any like major surprises necessarily. I don't think. It is signing day. There's always some sort of chicanery and shenanigans that can go on. But if you follow this stuff, you know some of the names that MSU's been involved with since this staff took over, and you know the guys that they're in the mix for. So you know they're all still out there. And I think some of them probably could pop today into MSU's class, or maybe tomorrow. But when you look at it, so 13 commits now. You know. Will they get above 20 in this early period, just high school kids? Probably not. Maybe close, maybe. Probably just a tick under, but that's not uncharacteristic of this staff. Let me try to find it here. The number of kids they signed at Oregon State was 24, 21, 20, 12, 19, and 20 in the 23 class. So smaller classes out there. And now that's kind of just my inch deep research. I don't know exactly the reason behind it. You know, pre-portal days, you'd say, oh, they're really good at hanging on to people. They don't have a lot of attrition. They develop their guys. They want to stay in the program. That's a good sign. Maybe that's still the case. Maybe it's something else. Maybe they loaded up with transfers, you know, one of those years, obviously, where they had like 12 signees. I don't know the exact nuts and bolts reasons of it, but regardless, smaller classes, you weren't seeing them sign 30, 35 guys like you see some other programs. So that's interesting to see whether that'll hold up here. Geographically, you know, you're looking at guys from the footprint that this staff was already recruiting out west, California, Washington, off the continental U.S. and Hawaii, and then even down to Florida, like Andrew Brinson. So, that's not really answering your question. I guess I kind of got off on a tangent there, but I don't think there'll be too much drama. I think the only thing maybe I can think of is like you were mentioned to me actually is quarterback Tyler Cherry out of Indiana. Seems to be very split between Michigan State and Indiana. You know, the Hoosiers kind of have a little more juice right now with their new coaching staff as well. So maybe you could see him delay his decision, whether that's just a couple days into the, you know, because it is a sort of early starting period. Yeah, they do have a couple days to get this all done, or whether he wants to push it all the way to February and really take more time to dive into this. I think that maybe is like the only sort of day of drama decision type situation. Otherwise, it should be a fairly smooth day, I want to say.
Yeah, it's Tyler Cherry, and then the other thing I have written down for drama for today is just how fast Brady Pretzlaff will commit to Michigan State on Wednesday. Like he's going to have a ceremony at 3 p.m., Is he going to put the hat on at 3:01? Is he going to drag it out until 5:30 p.m., kind of like Nick Marsh did over the summer? Who's to say? But I think that's pretty Loctite that he's going to be committing to Michigan State as well. But hey, I'll take no drama, man. We've had enough drama the last 3 or 4 months here in East Lansing. Like, if this is going to be a little bit of a breather, fine. I don't care. But here's where we stand right now, because when we all woke up on this beautiful Tuesday morning, Michigan State, depending on what site you're looking at, is in the 60s nationally. If they add in some commits, like we both expect, kind of around that 20 number, they could push their way up into the 40s. And I said on yesterday's show, look, I'm not going to pop champagne or get the parade all lined up on Grand River already. But Steven, this is a pretty nice piece of work by Jonathan Smith, right? Considering that he took over with just weeks until signing day. When he took this job, there were only 8 or 9 commits for this class. Or am I just being a Michigan State slappy and saying that, like, hey, this is some pretty good work by Jonathan Smith and not a lot of time?
I think it's a good job, and I think it can be a good class. I have a hard time seeing it end up as great necessarily. But, we'll see. Could it compare to some of D'Antonio's early classes where it was like, this is all right. And then 3 or 4 years later, they were captains and all Big Ten guys and leading the program resurgence? Maybe. I mean, again, get my little cheat sheet out here. The class rankings at Oregon State for these guys, first year was number 70, second year 49, 50, 87, 69, and 52. 52 coming off a 10-win season, out there. So that was I say that to say they took those classes and developed them, so maybe that's a less important thing if they can still replicate that and develop guys and make them better players here over the course of 3 and 4 years, the way they did at Oregon State. I think the most important thing that he's done is load up the class so far. Mm-hmm. And he's done the prudent, smart thing by tapping into connections that were already there. We've all talked a lot about how he doesn't know this area in the Midwest and everything. So don't try to go get Midwest kids. Go get the kids you already know that already have your number, that already know your name and your story and your scheme, all those things. Most of these guys that they've added so far are Oregon State commits or targets, at least, that they were aware of out there. I guess the quarterback, Alessio Miljovic, was not. They definitely found him once they got here. But by far the majority of guys that have and will be committing were on their radar out at Oregon State. And that's just a smart thing to do, right? When you only have a couple weeks, why wouldn't you tap into the connections you already have? It might be tough. Like, you're taking them from a spot that, you still know people at and, whether you have emotional ties to Oregon State or whatever, but you got to do what you got to do. And I think that was the prudent thing to do. It was a smart thing to do. So they had to fill up I do think it's important that this class, you always want quality, of course, but quantity was going to be very important in this class too. As you said, with how decimated the numbers were through the Mel Tucker scandal and everything, how low it got. You can do a lot in the transfer portal, but you still just need to refill the ranks the traditional way when you can. So I think there's more than a chance some of these guys could turn into really good players. But I think the most important part is just checking a lot of boxes personnel-wise, body-wise. Like, all right, we're going to add 2 more running backs over here. We're going to add X amount of offensive linemen, this many DBs. And then, just get your feet under you. But any quality you could get was great, but quantity was really going to be important. And I think they're on their way with that.
Just hearing you say that makes me feel so much better, because I've just been saying that in my own echo chamber over here. So the fact that someone with a highly regarded opinion like you is also saying that, hey, it was kind of about getting as close to 20 as you possibly can and not doing that just by throwing offers at, Grand Valley State kids or MAC offers, which there have been a few of those, of course, with Clay over in Ohio and then Miljovic, however you say his name. God, I'm trying my best right there. But you do have some of those, but the bulk of them are coming from guys you already have connections with. So that's nice to hear that. It's not just me trying to talk myself into it. It's just the fact that
saying that, because again, the staff has a track record of developing them. Stars and rankings are wrong all the time. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the most important thing to me was numbers and depth versus, if you could only get 10 really high level players or 25 decent to good players, like, I think for this class, you probably want the latter as you rebuild this thing, and you can tweak and adjust as you go forward. And one thing Smith was very intentional about saying at his first press conference a couple weeks ago now was like, don't forget the late signing period. So, He
Okay.
each time inserted that in himself when we were talking recruiting a couple of times. So that'll be interesting to see how he chooses to use that and navigate that one.
There we go. So Jonathan Smith's staff is hard at work finding the diamonds in the rough. We're going to put Steven Brooks here in the hot seat and see if he has a diamond in the rough amongst these 3 stars. But first, I'm going to give him a minute to think about that because we got to talk about FanDuel, gang, the leader in your lives when it comes to sports betting. Gang, as the weather gets colder and the season gets older, the NFL offers stay white hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's right. Don't even worry about the spreads. Don't worry about laying the points. Just find a team that you love for this weekend's menu of NFL games. Bet $5 on them, and if that hits, just like I said, guys, $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, it is clearly the best time to get in on all the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders. Guess the correct score. Guess the first touchdown score of the game. Just have yourself a hoot and a half at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. It's FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, let's drag him back on and let's see what his answer is when we ask Steven Brooks. Hey, there's a lot of 3 stars in this class. There's a lot of hopeful diamonds in the rough, maybe some guys that are underranked. Steven, which one of these kids do you have an eye on when it comes to the diamond in the rough status?
I really like Andrew Brinson, the Tampa area guy.
Okay.
Was committed to Oregon State, defensive back. He's very physical, which I love in a DB. When you can tell that on tape, you love that because that's one of the first things I always want to see from a young DB when they get to college is like, are they scared to come up and hit somebody? Or even if they're not scared, when they come up, can they actually hit somebody? Can they get somebody to the ground? Just that physicality component. Like if you have that, man, so much else can be coached. But that mentality and that willingness to be in the fray as a smaller defensive, not that he's small first, but just as a smaller guy on the football field, as a defensive back, I always love that. So he's a guy that I really think highly of. And it's I think Jalen Thompson too. He ended up dropping at least on the composite to a 3-star. Guy's been committed since last December. Has stuck with him the whole way. He's a guy that I think could have a nice future. But Brinson's the one that stands out to me, especially amongst the new additions. They liked him at Florida State, Oregon State. He's from Florida. I guess that's where I got my wires crossed there. Blue Adams has developed a couple nice players, as their DBs coach out there, obviously following them here to Michigan State. So he's a guy that I look at right now. And I think Wyatt Hook is another one that could turn into a nice tight end for them in a couple years. Again, a nice track record of development at that position. And it's so important with what they do. But Brinson's definitely number 1, I think, right now for me.
Speaking of the Sunshine State down there in Florida, Camren Campbell, he was a one-time commit of Michigan State, decommitted a few weeks ago, but here he is. Again, we're going to be transparent right now. It's Tuesday at 1 p.m., and I have to shout that out because things are changing hourly here. He could already be committed by the time you listen to this, or he's going to make his decision soon. How did this get back in the fold here for Camren Campbell? Was it a lack of offers from elsewhere? Was it just Blue Adams is that great of a recruiter already for Michigan State, or is this a surprise? Because I'm a little surprised to see Camren Campbell back in East Lansing for an official last weekend. Or is it really just making sense, you think?
Yeah, this is one of those fluid, evolving situations where actually, to be honest, to you and our listeners, right now, I'm not sure that he is going to end up back in the class.
Okay.
From everything we've been hearing this morning, and leading up to me sitting down here with you. So not positive that's actually going to happen. Maybe something to watch, if he's still unsigned and is available back in February, maybe things could change and circle back there. As you said, he was committed to MSU. I don't know what other interest has been out there for him or what other visits he's taken since he decommitted. I would hope that when he made that decision, I guess that he had something sort of in his back pocket, but I don't know. I don't think I've seen him on other visits, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So, we'll have to see on that one because I don't think that's as much of a done deal as it looked like it was heading for. With this staff. So that's one to monitor, but not a sure thing, I would say, at this point that he's going to end up in.
There's another player I just want to ask about, and this could be such a stupid question because, again, by the time people listen to this, the story could already be done. But Kekai Burnett, he's one of those guys over there in the Hawaiian Islands, 3-star edge rusher. He did visit BYU and Michigan State right now. Now, there's a good smattering of your fine colleagues at 24/7 Sports that have the crystal balls to Kekai landing at Michigan State. Things still looking good there, or is that another like small piece of drama we can be waiting for as late as Wednesday or as early as literally right now when we're talking to each other?
Old media Sheehan trying to stir up drama. You see this,
like
folks?
That?
Do you folks hear this? Trying to enrage the crowd masses and you people rioting. Look at this guy. Man.
Watch out for those Mormons over there stealing our players. That's right.
People, just typical media behavior from this guy. I don't think there'll be any problem with him. I think they did a good job with their official visit, and that's as we look at the class, like I said, they sort of tapped into their roots in terms of what was already what groundwork had already been done in the 2024 cycle. So that's why you're going to see some kids from California, Washington, etc. Hawaii, over time, I don't think you'll see as much of that. You'll always see some, of course, because that's where these guys have the deepest roots. But I think it'll transition to more of a regional thing the longer these guys are here. But the one thing I think Hawaii might end up being sort of a constant, though. I mean, as you know for sure, and I'm sure most listeners, but maybe not all, realize like the very strong tradition Michigan State has in Hawaii and the relationships that they have out there, and just the tradition that some very good players have come through here. So it's a Michigan State has a advantage is a word. They have an opportunity to recruit in Hawaii though that not a lot of like mainland Power Fives have because of that history. People have come out here from out there and had a great time and still remain important figures in the program and everything, and that helps, that word of mouth. Like if you're going to come all this way, to come play college football and great, live on campus with great December days like this that we're enjoying right now. You kind of got to have some people vouching for you. Michigan State has that, historically. So, like I said, not everybody could do that. Iowa, can't go out there, I don't think, and recruit guys the way Michigan State can because of the history. So that's one thing that I'm going to be curious to see. I do think they'll sign some Hawaiians this class. I'll be curious to see how much they're able to continue that pipeline and continue focusing on guys out there, because there's always a good handful of good players out there worth your time to make.
Yeah, especially like the foundational linemen where you really start finding their mold 2-3 years in a system. But yeah, I am just amazed. Obviously, it makes sense this year because they were committed to Oregon State, both those guys. But it just amazes me when MSU lands someone from the Pacific Islands like that. So like I've lived here almost every day of my entire life, and I still almost cry when I step outside my front door in December. Like I can't imagine growing up in a tropical climate, you get off a 9-hour flight over here, and what's that white stuff on the ground? Like, oh, why does the air hurt right now? Like, but hey, you know what? That's, I guess, speaks to good recruiting. What other media tricks can I have up my sleeve? Do you want to talk about Urban Meyer potentially being one of the last 2 assistant coaches on the staff, or do you want me to ask you a real question? What do you want me to do here?
Let's go. Let's not do that. Yeah, let's do
a real question? Fine, whatever. All right, so there were 3 transfers that were added into this class, we'll call it, for example, on Monday. It was Jordan Turner, the linebacker out of Wisconsin. It was TJ Sheffield, the wide receiver out of Purdue. And then Jack Velling, the tight end out of Oregon State. Point blank period, Steven. Which of those 3 players is going to have the bigged immediate impact next year for Michigan State, in your opinion?
Oh, it's Jack Velling, easily.
That easy? Okay.
Easily, yeah. This guy had 8 touchdowns last year on like 29 catches, I want to say, like around 30 catches.
If that. Yeah. Right.
You watch their highlights, it feels like he's scoring a touchdown like every game. It feels like he's like wide open over the seam on like a play action pass for like 20, 30 yards every time, every game when you turn on some of these highlights. He's a 3-down tight end, which the last time you could say that at Michigan State, a productive one, at least I should say, a good, solid, productive 3-down tight end, and that's a really important position in their system and what they do with their run game, getting out on wide zones, the play action game, like I just said, all just critical components. Like the standard of tight end play that we've been seeing here the last couple of years will not fly under this staff. Not that the old staff was necessarily allowing it, but it literally can't happen now because like it's so important to what these guys do offensively. Brian Lindgren and Jonathan Smith, with the physicality, it'll be a non-negotiable. Like you have to be an adequate blocker out there. And Jack Velling's a 3-down guy. They featured him. He was able to, their receivers were really good too. So it's not like he was the only guy, but like he was a known commodity, and people just couldn't stop him when you're so sucked up trying to stop their run game, and he's leaking out the back. They're really creative with the way they scheme him open and everything, but he's going to walk right in and know the scheme and know that he's going to be a featured weapon. I thought it was going to be hard for somebody to. I think Washington was the other contender for him. I thought it was going to be hard for anybody to. If it was me, at least, to win over his commitment, because it's like, I know this staff's going to feature me. I know they're going to throw me the ball. I already know the plays. There's no adjustment period. It's just going to be turnkey, boom, 8 more touchdowns. Something to that effect. I'm not guaranteeing that, but he's in such an important position, and he's a proven, productive player, and you don't have to take him off the field. So it's him by far, although I do like the other guys as well.
There we go. I'm going to ask you about other transfers, like guys we should be keeping our names on. But first, Steven, I hate to do this to you again. I got to send you to the bench because I need to talk to people's ears off about LinkedIn jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. So that's why you got to go check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster. And my favorite part, for free. It is so easy to add your job to LinkedIn. Guys, even a schmuck like me can do it. So if I can do it with ease, I know full well you can do it as well. So when you do it, add that purple hashtag hiring frame on your profile to spread the word that you are hiring. And hiring is easy when you have more than 1 billion professionals to pick from. And that's what LinkedIn Jobs has. They are not your ordinary job searching site. No. They crank it up. It's so easy that actually, guys, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours of posting their job. The process is intuitive. It's quick. It's easy. So what are you waiting for? Go post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions. You got that right. They apply. All right, let's drag him back on here. Steven Brooks of 24/7 Sports. So kind with his time, his knowledge, and quite a busy time of the year for people in the recruiting world. And I guess not just recruiting, but transfers. I mean, I guess it's different, but it's really the same. Who cares? Whatever. I'll just get into my question here. What other transfers should we be keeping an eye on? Because 2 names that I've dropped, Holy Cross, not former linebacker. Am I having a stroke right now? Holy Cross lineman, former FCS All-American. There we go. Nailed it. My God. Luke Newman. He has some Michigan ties. Some may even say his family grew up as Michigan State fans, so that might be one. And then also another guy from the state of Michigan who's played at Purdue and UCLA, another offensive lineman, Spencer Holstedge. Those are just 2 names I've thrown out for like, hey, keep your eye on these guys. Do you have anyone else, like whether they have visited Michigan State or have not visited Michigan State, anyone else that can really get attention here?
Yeah, those are 2 good names for sure, especially the O lineman from UCLA. I haven't actually seen many cut-ups of him or anything, but I know he's started a ton of games. Mm-hmm. So like just on paper, that's a profile that like Michigan State could use desperately. Several double-digit game starter. I don't really care about anything else. Measurables, position, just bring them in. You
bodies, right?
Yeah. Another one, though, is that I would think to keep an eye on is a guy named Josh Preby. If you've been following this for a while, from Edwardsburg, I think I have that right, down in southwest Michigan, almost Indiana. Yeah. From Northwestern, signed over there, played over there, started over there for at least a year, maybe a couple years. I really loved him coming out of high school, and he actually liked Michigan State quite a bit. He was a very smaller school, smaller high school level down there, so you didn't know for sure how it would translate, but he had really good high school tape and has ended up being a good Big Ten player. Very close to coming here. Probably would have come here, but the reshuffling of D'Antonio's staff when Mark Staten was no longer his position coach, and he was the guy who like first found him and really built that relationship with MSU. Once he switched to coaching tight ends, that's when he started to sort of look elsewhere, and that opened the door, and boom, he ends up at Northwestern. So he's a guy that I believe has been around on a visit already, and I think would be a good pickup. And then elsewhere, I think that's still going to be an evolving situation because I think there could still be some more Oregon State guys that pop in and maybe would be interested in coming over here. If it's me, I'm not necessarily suggesting anything here, but I mean, I would like to see maybe some receivers or DBs come in because they're 2 receivers that like 700-yard guys. They're both 5'8", which is interesting. Like they had some really small receivers doing a lot of damage out there for them. If you guys didn't watch it, but either one of those guys, or both, if they wanted to come over, you would take them, of course. And, if you could find a starting level DB, to increase the competition there, MSU's held on to a lot of their good young talent there, but you can never have enough of that either. So I think after bowl season, it will continue to see more of that. And I think that'll be bigger emphasis, the portal guys moving into January and heading into that second signing period.
Let me put you on the spot with this question, because there's obviously a handful of Michigan State Spartans that are in the portal. Anyone that you think has an okay shot of coming back, like guys like Malik Carr, I don't think that Carr is ever going to turn around and head back to East Lansing. And that was no pun intended, by the way.
No, of course.
No, it truthfully wasn't, but I'm ashamed of myself for even saying that. But guys like Brantley or Jacoby Wiman, do you think that there's a shot of either of them coming back, or I don't know? It's just it's hard to get a beat on some of these guys sometimes.
Derek Harmon, my man, I've been his pseudo agent since high school.
Yes, you have. You were an OG Derek Harmon supporter, man. You were on him before Ohio State, before Auburn, before Oregon. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think there's a chance with him. I think. Okay. I think it's I know there's a chance with him. I should say. I think it's kind of a MSU OSU situation. Okay. I don't know what he heard or saw out of Oregon, or maybe how that felt, but when it really comes down to it, I have a hard time seeing him go that far from home. I have heard consistently that development and winning are his top priorities. So,
sure.
Where does that fit? It's not. I've heard consistently it's not just about running up the check and getting the highest payday that he can. I heard that he really does care about winning opportunity and potential. Still, MSU can probably do some things for him, and there's a comfort level here. So I think there's a chance with him. I think there's a chance with Jacoby too. I haven't heard so much specifically on him. I have heard Harmon is a true sort of maybe, and he's looking at things. But Wiman, I haven't heard anything on. But I just think the timing, he didn't go in right away, and he was out for like 9 games or whatever. He had plenty of time to think about this and figure out if he wanted to do it. He didn't go in right away. It makes me think that maybe he's just sort of testing the waters, dipping a toe in to see what's out there. And I'm sure he'll have suitors when you're a guy like that, and you can watch, a 60-second cut up and say, man, look how he gets to the quarterback. Now, you watch a 60-minute cut up, are you still going to want him as bad? That's a different discussion. But he'll have suitors, and people want to pay for, people want to recruit a guy like that who can do those things. I just think the timing where he didn't jump in right away, it's like, I'm out of here. I think that suggests that he would be open to returning. And then just personally, again, I haven't heard this, but personally, I think he would be a really good fit in Joe Rossi's defense. So I think he should probably come back. Now, I'm not in his head. I don't know what all his priorities are, but I think football-wise, he'd be making a really good decision to come back and play in this system.
That's a hard agree, just because sometimes they have the stand-up linebacker playing that edge in certain situations. Not even certain situations, many situations under Rossi. So. But yeah, again, I mean, it's a different landscape. It's actually refreshing to hear that Derek Harmon just wants to focus on winning and development and not like an NIL check. And I'm not saying that every single kid is like that, but it's definitely a factor in a lot of these decisions for a good reason. I'd probably be doing the same, quite honestly, if I was a college kid, if I was in a certain situation financially. But yeah, it's just weird. It's just strange. But hey, these are the times. I mean,
put yourself in his shoes. You've been at Michigan State, you've been getting your head smashed against a wall by Ohio State, and now they want you. That team that's been, putting your head in the toilet, giving you the swirly for 3 years, that team wants you now. That's got to be pretty powerful. And I actually heard when he was on his visit down there, a lot of Ohio State dudes came up to him and just, sort of showed him some respect. Like, hey, man, you're a player. We respect you down here. You could play with us, type of thing. And consider how powerful that has to be as a recruiting pitch like that. If he ends up there, I don't know. I'm not suggesting anything, but you could understand why he would want to do that. But I think there's some things MSU has going for it with him too, in terms of just the comfort level, of course. But they need him probably more than any of these teams, and they can definitely take care of him financially. But they need him, whereas Ohio State, I don't know if they need him the same way, and whether they have the same opportunities, snap count wise and things like that. But development and winning, so he's got to figure all that out.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, Steven, this has been a lovely chat. As always, great chatting with you again, my man. Anything you want to plug here? I don't know. Are you guys writing any stories in the next few days by any chance? Or are you guys just taking the rest of the week off? What's it looking like over there?
There might be a couple popping up on SpartanTailgate.com.
Okay.
Probably a sale popping up on there as well. Keep your eyes peeled. Just keep coming to us for your signing day coverage and recruiting coverage and beyond, though. I mean, like basketball, football commentary, analysis, football spring balls coming up. Sign up now. You're gonna be in there for the whole first year of Jonathan Smith. The rest of basketball season, wherever that takes us, it's been a ride already. Wherever that train leaves us by the end of the year, and then it'll be full bore into summer recruiting and building this first sort of real class for Smith, and then it'll be training camp and the season and on and on and on. So there's a whole lot more. It's not just recruiting stuff that we have there. So it's not just football, So just come check us out and let us be your resource, I guess, for signing day and beyond.
And if not for nothing else, again, it is Tuesday at about 1 p.m.-ish. These are happy times in East Lansing, even for basketball with the last few days. So, again, I have to timestamp that because things change quite quickly here. But, for now, we get to read and listen about happy things, Steven. So, hey, this was a great chat, my man. Really do appreciate you. Gang, you already know we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to recap all the signing day. We're going to be chatting about any other news that pops up. And then at the end of the week, well, we're going to give you so much recruiting stuff that you're going to be sick to your stomach because Brian Smith, our lockdown recruiting expert, he's going to join the show to end the week as well. But until then, hey, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go Green.